what you want. Unbossed. Speak what you want. Unbossed. Speak what you want. Unbossed. And we're up first. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki on boss and Nikki. L-A-D-I-S, and we're up first.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. We honor the voice of the everyday woman. How y'all doing? I'm laughing.
Wonderful.
Because, I can see all of y'all backstage and everybody's like doing their last minute thing. And then right when it goes, dun, 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 all of us, I mean, like clockwork, even myself, I'm pouring my coffee. All of us, when it went dun, dun, all of us went, I mean, like Black Girl crew. Shelly's like, and Shawnee's like, and Nikki's like, and I'm over here like, when it was like, because we can't, y'all can't see each other. I can see y'all.
You can see all of us.
Like clockwork, all of us went, boom, 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 whatever our version.
We know that final beat. What's that
beautifuls? Y'all look good in your turquoise.
Thank you. It's the color of care.
The color of care. Yes.
Sorry to be moving. Trying to find better light.
You look good, girl. You look good, Nick. You look good. You in the light. I like Shawnee's hair.
Yes.
Is that your prep curl look?
Oh, I thank you. This is my I am doing a protective style on my hair so I don't have to put heat on it or
we just was talking about that before you popped in backstage.
Anything. So I twisted it up. This is on my hair. I just twisted it up so it can
beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
And then maybe I'll untwist it and just be like big
big and bold.
I'm laughing. Shawnee said, "This is all my hair." I was like,
"That is a nice add-in."
It's all my hair. I told y'all when Shawnee and I first started trading together, I used to make her treadmill go down and I would go up.
So you can see if she had any tracks.
Like, is that a trick?
Girl, I am that Black girl that I will press. My hair will be straight in a heartbeat. Like I don't have chemicals in my hair, but I will straighten it in a heartbeat. I'm never that person like, oh, heat damage. I just be like, it's easier for me to manage straight. So I'm trying to not. My wife was like, you gonna do your hair anytime soon? Because I have been looking cray since Christmas.
Wow.
Head wrap and I had.
And it's funny too because Autumn is in the hair industry.
Yeah.
So she's used to hair being tight and right.
Yes.
Like she's a master of it.
I've had these thick Sealy braids since Christmas. Yeah. And I've just been wearing, y'all seen me, I've been wearing head wraps and all these other kinds of stuff. I was like, let me do something with my head.
Girl.
It's funny. It says it's beautiful, girl. My protector twist look like Sealy.
Honey.
We love Sealy braids. Mine,
We love
mine.
silly. We love silly.
We love Sealy braids. When I had hair and mine would twist, I had this just thought of myself as a little girl.
Yeah.
Miss Pat would put my hair in ponytails and they would go like this. And when she picked me up, they were like this. And like if we had to go to the mall or something, I was in the car and she was there. She had that brush. You know, she made sure I was nice and neat before I went into the mall, honey. Had that brush. But good morning, y'all. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today.
Yes.
We are missing everybody's best friend, our girl Crystal JG. Let's give Crystal a shout out. Hey, Chrissy. She will be back with us soon. I know Nikki's traveling. I'm traveling. And speaking of traveling, look, how do I do this? Speaking of traveling, I feel like when I am traveling and I am on the road, I do take better care of myself.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I do. Segue into our topic today. I find myself, I don't know, I take my time. I wake up in the morning, even when I get in off the plane, I take a shower. Like I do things for myself that I don't do at home. I take my time and put my lotion on. I sit down on the bed and put my lotion on my feet. Sometimes when in the morning when I'm rushing, I'm like,
right.
pat it on the foot. But I take my time.
We all know I don't compromise that time.
We all know.
I get between the toes, everything, massage your legs.
Well, that's what I find myself doing. And even this morning, and Shani just mentioned autumn. It's funny, over the last couple months, we always on Thursday mornings we get together. We like, Shani, what you and Autumn talk about? Because a lot of our topics have been coming from their discussions. I even said we got
the night before.
The night before. And this week they talked about, Shani said, how do you want to be cared for? It's a conversation that she and her wife had. And that hit me to the core. And maybe that's why I gave myself even a little more extra care. Figured out, how do I want to be cared for? Not only by a partner, but by my friends, my relationships at work, my employees. How do I want to be cared for? And I wrote up this weekend, good question. Well, what's your answer? Right after Valentine's Day, sometimes we get disappointed on how we are cared for. How many of y'all been there? How many of you like, I was in a relationship for 12 years. It took 10 years just to get it kind of right, Yeah. You sitting there cross. And one of the questions we said, are we speaking different love languages? Is it lack of communications? Or is it just your hint? What is it? Let's chat about it. Let's talk about it. How do you want to be cared for, y'all?
Well, I think I'll start it off. I think initially, if you hear background, it's because my wife started back working, and so now I'm doing the mommy thing while the show is going on. The kids is right here, so just. But I think overall, the biggest issue in relationship, romantic or not, is that most people care for you the way that they want to be cared for themselves. Not realizing that your care language might be something polar opposite of how they are caring for you. This topic came up between my wife and I because we talk a lot. We try to talk a lot, and she had went out, and I was just exhausted. I've been working a lot, and I was exhausted, and I rarely go to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Y'all know it's like far in between. But I did. I went to sleep, and she came home, and she didn't like touch me or say that she was there or like anything. in her mind, she was like, I'm caring for you because I want you to rest. You never rest. You never sleep. So I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to wake. I didn't want to interrupt your sleep because you were sleeping. In my mind, I'm like, I'm half asleep because you ain't here. So I want to know. I want to know you're home. You
Right.
know. And so it's just like the way that I want to be cared for is like you could have just touched me, kissed me on the forehead or whatever, and that would have said, "Hey, I'm here, love you."
Mm-hmm.
In her mind, it was like, "Oh, that would have interrupted you," and I don't want to. I don't want, as I'm her, I don't want to be interrupted when I'm sleeping, so that's why I didn't interrupt you.
Got it.
You
And
know,
so,
that's really interesting. So you didn't tell us this story the
mhm.
other day, and when you tell the story, like I can so relate to that, but more from an opposite end. So, like my husband, if I walk in and he sleep, he really doesn't want to be bothered. However, he will wake up, and especially if he ends up sleeping through the night, mad.
Ah,
I didn't. That's really interesting. I mean, it's interesting when we brought up the topic, but you never told the story. Just kind of
but you
makes
know what that makes me think
you.
about is, like you said, your husband doesn't want to be disturbed when he's sleeping, but then he'll wake up in the morning mad. That points to how much we are communicate. One,
Yeah.
how much we're clear about what we want,
Yeah.
and then do we communicate it to the people that we have different types of relationships with, right? And because that's funny, it's like
Communication. Because don't be waking up upset if I wake you up to tell you I'm here, but they get mad when I don't.
exactly. But I also think like it's so powerful that you said that, Shawnee, to Autumn, because you were like, I need to know you're here, right? I need you to like touch me, say I'm home, give me a kiss on the cheek, do something, right? You got to do something to let me know that you're here. Now, in in most situations in my field of work, people think those things and they have those reactions to how the person that they're in this relationship with, whether it's romantic or otherwise, they feel it, but they don't often say it. So then that other person continues to go on about things the way that they are going on about them, because we don't do a great job communicating. Like I know I was guilty of that in my own marriage, right? Like I will communicate, but I'm also so focused on me that when things happen around me that don't feel the way I want them to feel, I know that I was guilty of like not really giving. I'm not ringing an alarm to say, hey,
Right.
this isn't this doesn't feel right for me, and this is how I would like for it to feel for me. I would almost rarely do that, almost never.
It's funny, Shawnee. I mean, Shawnee, Lachelle, when you say that, I think about what we talked about. I know for me, for a long period of time, especially in romantic relationships, I would be very more like, even my friendships. Let me back that up. Y'all know
Mm-hmm.
me, and when you hear me talk, don't worry about me. Let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
Really big on that. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Let me see what I can do for you. Let me
Mm-hmm.
help you. Let me help you. And I would get very in tuned on what the care that that person needed. And it's not until recently that I'm really like, well, what do I need? And how do I want to be cared for? And do
Mm-hmm.
I do those things for myself? And if
Right.
I do, am I sharing that with people? And lately, I shared a story with you guys earlier last week. It was weird. I don't, and maybe it's part of my people pleasing or whatever. It was one of the first times a friend said something to me, and I was kind of like, and usually I would just let it brush off and journal about it, but I stopped and was like, no, that's not what it is. And in that moment, it was one of the first times too, not that I didn't care how they responded, but it really was about how is this servicing me? How is this caring for me? How is this? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
usually not like that. And to my not to my surprise, my friend did take a beat and go, wow, and got it. And
Because you gave it.
Because I gave it, and my friend
But
did.
she also gave the space for it, though, because listening to you from the start of what you were talking about, you more so were pushing away people from even thinking about or trying to allow them to care for you. Right? You kind of pushed them away, you know. So, and then it sounds like in your process of realizing you want and need to be cared for, you've allowed now the space for yourself to give invitation to others to do so.
Yeah, and also in this, I don't know why I'm about to cry. I ain't said that in a long time.
I know, honey, but it's okay. Look at you.
I feel like every show we could go to every show and Nick made that statement.
Right.
I don't know. Something just triggered for me. I don't know what that is. Woo. I don't know what that is.
Well, it might be the invitation, because now you're not only wanting it, you're telling people in however way you choose to deliver it, I need you to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also too, when I think one of the reasons when Shawnee said this, how do you want to be cared for? It really hit me because I've realized that I have not. Oh, I'm about to cry. I need a tissue. I have not communicated in years on what I need.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
I've not communicated in years on what I need, and now I'm being vocal about it. And so many people are there to give it to me, and I never knew.
You never knew it was there.
I never knew it was there.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people are there to give it to me, and I never knew it was there. And I didn't realize how much I needed it. I didn't realize how much emotional support, the lack of emotional support, I wasn't allowing myself to have. And so last night, being the last couple of weeks that I've been traveling and been in a hotel, I really have been taking care of myself. And last night I was like, well, how do you want to be cared for? Like, I was asking myself that. And even as simple as being in the shower and coming out the shower and you know, and I came to the conclusion that first I need to care for myself. I shared with y'all when we started the show, I'm not feeling well. I've been feeling well all week. And first, in order for me to get out how I want to be cared for, I gotta care for myself. I gotta
figure it out.
I gotta figure it out, you know.
Listen,
I went
part
on a
of
moment.
I think that a big part of the reason, Nikki, you are 100% not alone in this, because, you know, we're all women. Most of our friends are women. Many of the people we work with are women. Our family members, a lot of women, especially Black women. And there are so many societal, community, and family messages that are sent our way and attempt to be ingrained in us from young about everything. You not needing care. You don't need nobody. You can do this on your own. You're a strong Black woman. How hard it is for me to say that, right? But it's like you and you were an athlete, right? And so there was all of this, go get it yourself, go do it yourself, go make it happen, which almost naturally pushes away the space to think about what you need. I think most of us were trained to think about what we need to do.
Ooh, that's me. What we need to do.
What we need to do for our family, for our community, for ourselves, for our education, for our career, for our sport, for our everything, but not what we need, right? They added the to do, because that's what we've been doing a lot. They added the to do to our sentence, right? There are certain segments of the population, certain cultures, where the primary question is, what do you need? But that's not true in general for women, because across the globe, we're seen as those who are here to serve and make it work and make it happen. Except for when we say, well, let me run the whole show. And then they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. We've been relying on you forever, but no, right? But I think that that is the thing. That is the reason that you've been so disconnected. So many of us have been so disconnected from even knowing how we want to be cared for.
Right. Yeah.
Even recognizing that we're not being cared for, because we act like Sunday brunch with the girls is being cared for.
Yep.
That's
sure
true.
do.
You know, that's interesting. That's something to talk about too. Like, because as you were describing that and speaking to the fact of being brought up with the idea of what is instilled in us is what we need to do, I was just thinking how in different scenarios in my own environment here, where that is the theme, the makeup of the environment of, you know, when I show up, this is what I need to do. Like the minute I go in, whether it's work, whether it's home life, and I'm just thinking out loud, right, about how do we start to, or how should we start to change it, right? So is it a mindset thing where you change your mindset in terms of how you enter a space? Is it becoming aware of the fact that we are living in a world where we allow ourselves to be managed by what it is we need to do? Mm-hmm. Is it, you know, what is it? You know, I could go on with different ways to look at that. But when you were describing that, what is so powerful about that is I could think in every instance when I wake up, no matter what space it is, even going to my daughter's game, you know, what is it that is in my responsibility? What is it that I need to do?
You wake up thinking, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
That's heavy.
That's very heavy.
It's heavy, especially if it's somebody who, you know, has to carry a lot, or you know, whatever your load is, you know, a lot could be different for a lot of people, but when you carry a lot and you put a lot of responsibility on yourself, or you allow a lot of responsibility to fall on yourself, or you just naturally just take it on, you know, even if it's helping friends, that's heavy, right? So, you know, where do we start with changing how we enter a space, a room?
Yes.
Or how do we change how people look at us and the expectation they have for us when we enter the space?
Well, I know that in dealing with relationship, like romantic relationship, it's 100% communication. 100% saying what it is that you need or don't need, because if you don't say it, it leaves interpretation to whoever is, you know, the other person, or it leaves it to their imagination of like how you want to or don't want to be cared for, interacted with, or whatever. Literally my I mean, we, like I said, we talk about this stuff all the time, but you know, my wife, she kind of allows me to like move and shake because I'm that girl. Like I don't need a lot of assistance per se. You know, I can just move and shake, but that don't mean I don't want it. I don't mean I don't want the help, you know. But because I move, and you know, like we're all alpha women, you know, we kind of just go and do, and we don't take the time to voice when we do need help or when we want assistance per se, that people around us look at us like, oh, you are that strong woman. You are that. You got it. Literally, she said those words. Oh, you got it. And I'm like, no, I don't get it. I'm just like, you know, and I said I ended our conversation with saying, like, you know, I have to be very diligent in being vulnerable to let my partner know that I ain't got it. Because we move and shake in a space of like, fake it till you make it. You got it until you know, you ain't got it until you got it, but don't show nobody that you ain't got it. That's right. And I shouldn't have to feel that way with people I love or people that say that they love me. And so I was just like, you know,
Whew.
Very like, y'all know my love language is quality time. Like I'm very like, I just want my people around me. I like, I want to talk. I want to be whatever. I don't necessarily want to feel like I'm always having to,
Correct. Yes. I saw what Kristen said. I wrote that down. I'm taking mad notes.
I did too. She said diligent and being vulnerable. Letting my partner know I ain't got it. And I Shawnee, I'm finding myself in that with my close friends, especially my friends that are younger than me, my friends that are used to me having it. This is the first time in my life where, I told y'all 2022 was the pick up, turn me around, put my feet on solid ground year, and it was very trying, not just emotional, financial decisions, stepping into this real CEO position. And I, in the past, y'all have heard me talk about, girl, I made mistakes. I finally get what Diana Ross says, I paid the cost to be the boss. Finally get it. And with that, I am making myself, Shawnee, I wasn't saying it like this, but being diligent and being vulnerable and letting my people know that I don't have it all the time. I don't have it all the time.
Thought about that concept.
And I didn't even, and I know it's uncomfortable, but I need the space. What does Nikki say? Creating space for me. I also need you to create space. It's, I did a campaign for Lululemon a couple weeks ago, and I had a whole nother thing that I was going to say, what I was going to do. How are you taking up space? How are you creating space? And I was about to say my friends and the theater kids and all these people. And at that very moment, Rebecca was with me when I went, I'm creating a space for me. And by creating a space for me, I am learning what I need to be cared for. And which is going to allow me to be vulnerable, to let the people that I know and I'm close to. I love that, Shawnee. That was good.
Child.
Yeah. I do want to shout out Enid real quick. What's up, Mama E? Mama E said it's so hard. It's hard for women, especially when women who have been in the role of caretaker or nurturer, that we need some TLC. And then unfortunately we feel guilty for being self-indulgent and needy. You know what? I'm going to get up.
I don't have that problem. That I don't.
She said, I'm gonna take a leap around, a lap around church.
No,
that is
the last part. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with feeling guilty, but I will say in my practice, right, in my coaching practice, that is a number one emotion that women come with in their work on getting healthier, is they feel guilty about what they want to do or need to do for themselves. So Enid is on it.
And is that just because of what? Is that because of
That's because I'll tell you, to me, it's because women are continually told that we need to be doing for others.
I also think too, I think it's that, Shelly, but I was a caretaker for 12 years, with 10, 12, for me, I got used to it. It became my everyday. It became
a part of who you were.
It became my everyday so much. It became my everyday so much that, like Nikki said, it was like that was my child. That was the first thing I thought about in the morning. What is he okay? So much that the other day it was hot outside and he had a damn leather coat on. I wanted to go up to him and say, "What you got that on for? You gonna sweat?" I didn't let it go. I just let it go.
I was just gonna say, Nikki, that for most of us, right, it does become so commonplace to care for others and not for ourselves that even when we don't have to do it anymore, like your kids are going and live on their own, or the person you were with, you're no longer with, or the partner you had, the business, whatever, you still trying to do it and they're not even there.
Not even there. It was funny. Quick story.
That's crazy.
I'm on the phone with Rebecca and I'm walking down the street and I was like, oh, look who's in front of me. Why he got that coat on? He gonna sweat to death. Should I go tell him? No, I'm not going. But that was the first thing. Let me go help him. You know
So
what?
conditioned.
Yeah, he know he outside with that coat. He feel it. But you know what? I think too. I think it's like another thing that I was telling my wife is that like I in trying to make the flow of our home life, blah 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 blah, just easy. It seems as if I just take on the role of doing because I just want to make things easier. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the dynamic of like the ebb and flow of provider. Like, sometimes I make more money, sometimes she makes more money, like, whatever. When I feel like inadequate when I'm not bringing in as much, right? And so I've tried to
Do other things.
do other things to add up, right? Which then just says the other stuff that you don't want it to say. You got it. You can do it.
Right.
That type of thing. So I'm like I said, I'm trying to find a balance in the two because obviously the care and concern needs to be voiced in our home, but I just get lost in the sauce, I guess you could
But
say.
you know what you just said, Chandra, which it pointed out exactly what we're talking about. When you said sometimes when I'm making less, I try to make up for that by doing other things. That is also a message that says I don't need to be cared for because even if I'm making less, I still need to be cared for.
Yeah.
I don't need to make up for making less. If we are in a relationship of any kind, right? Romantic, friendship, if I'm not feeling well, doing well, financially well, whatever it is, I still need you to care for me. Like it doesn't have to be like I have to meet up with where you are in a certain area by doing these other things. Like in this moment, you're winning in this area and I still need what I need. Right? We don't do that. I mean, that thought is so subtle and so vicious.
Because
Right?
the truth is, people do not
Vicious.
care in a reciprocal way. People don't think about the care in a reciprocal way.
Right.
There are so many spaces that we operate in where the options before us are only to adhere to the things that we're being advised we need to do so that we can get what we want. Just in general, I just think that I have to go back to what I was saying before, figuring out a way to manage more of a mindset, whether or not when you enter into whatever situation it is, you can consciously turn it around to maintain that balance that Chandra had mentioned. Because, I mean, as I'm listening to you again, there are multiple different scenarios that are running through my mind where I think it's not totally up to us, but it's sort of up to us to hold others accountable for recognizing that they're not caring for you in whatever it is you're discussing. You understand what they need, right? But where is that balance, or how are you being fed as well?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that you said that, Nick, because I think I said it to y'all on Thursday. There's this one side of people and friends that you're learning that you get to be open and create a space so they can be there for you and they can care for you because you've been so used to doing this. Then it's on the other hand, the roles reverse. I shared with y'all that, I've been friends with Crystal for a very, very long time all of y'all actually, at a very pivotal point in my life, from my late 20s, early 30s on to now. And I had to check myself the other day. I said, am I providing and creating a space for her?
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever asked her what is it that she needs and what she cares and what does she need to be cared for? Because she always is here, always has been there for me, and it made me check. So one of the questions I had said, you know, we want people to do this for us. And Nikki said something about reciprocating. Are we doing it for other people? And that's the question for me. Like my
And that
people.
comes back to, are people conscious, aware, and interested? I mean, what popped in my head to me that is just like, for me, a good example of something like it is what it is. Let's just say in work life performance review, right? Performance reviews that people get over a period of time, right? People tell you how you've done, they tell you what you could do better, you know, where you might have, you know, have some opportunities for growth. But where is the care from the time you receive that output, right? Or, you know, summary of your year's work over the course of the year? Where have people been investing in you to do this? Now they think they're doing it because they may have mid-year reviews and whatever, you know, different checkpoints, but it's really not reciprocal. And depending on the person that's in the role will determine whether or not you personally are being cared for, whether or not they have the training, they have the interest, they have the awareness. You could take that same scenario and apply it in personal relationships anywhere. I just think it's a good scenario in the sense that it's a set engagement that people often, you know, do and can relate to. But I would venture to say that the majority of people do not feel like they're being fed in that process.
Agreed. Right? I agree. It's interesting because what both of you just said, it's almost like we are responding to people in our lives based on their role. And like you said, right? Like you said, Crystal was a mentor to you, right? So you respond to her based on her role, and she responds to you based on your role, right? Like mentee, right? I'm going to give here, right? I'm not here to get, but I feel like what we need to be doing is that the basis of every connection needs to be rooted in knowing that the person you're engaging with is okay. And if they need something before you think about the roles, right? It's, you know, I heard this African proverb years ago. I heard this African man say this, and he said that in Africa, you don't go, when you go to meet with anyone for any reason, the first question out of your mouth is, how is your family? How are your children? How are you? Right? You ask about the well-being of the person and the people that person care about before you get down to business, before you start flirting to date. Like, it is the first thing, right? Because if you're not well and the people you care about are not well, you're not going to be able to show up to whatever this interaction is supposed to be.
That's right.
And I think
go ahead.
That's not customary in this country for sure. But I do think in this subject of being cared for, this is something we need to take away as a thing we do first before we engage in whatever the purpose of the meeting, the gathering is for.
So I want to emphasize again, to support you, that goes back to being the person or the situation you're in. Are they conscious, aware, and interested? And that's a temperature check that I think we all have to engage in to manage what kind of, you know, I hate using the word again, but space are we in, right? Because now you know what you're working with. If the person, the situation, or whatever it is not conscious, aware, or interested in being in any way vulnerable to care for you, then you need to decide, how do you want to be in that situation?
Yes.
Right. And then that goes right to what Lachelle was saying, because at the end of the day, we can't control others. We can't control the situation necessarily all the time that we've been put in. But if we are aware of what we're operating in, we then can control ourselves
and how we're cared for.
And how we're cared for. I want to piggyback on that, Nick and Lachelle, what Keisha just said. Keisha said, Chandra, I can absolutely relate. My husband is a breadwinner, so I felt like for so long I could not ask for help since he was making sure we stayed afloat. Even though I too contribute financially as well as managing for household schedule with the kids, etc., and his schedule of life outside of work, etc. So as soon as I did the math, I became loud and clear about what I needed and how I needed it. Because if I am not cared for correctly, this entire ship is going down. Hey.
I mean, burning down, burning to the ground.
Well,
And that's the realization. That's the realization that I came to the other was like, there, even though the conversation started off as something really minute, it made it me think about other things. And I'm like, if I'm not cared for, honey,
it's over.
Where's the gasoline? I'm burning this whole shit down.
It's interesting you said that, Chandra, because in my head I was, and I'm sorry, but I was thinking, wow, that's such a little thing. So she came home, but I get it. But it also said to me, that was just one example.
Yeah, right? That's like when you have that one thread,
little things.
That's like that one thread in the sweater, and you like, oh, what is this? And then next thing you know, you're naked.
Right. Yeah. But also too, that's part of Shawnee's love language is quality time. It's access quality time.
And I get it. But Chandra's always up with those kids. I get it. I would have let her sleep too. Girl, you look you're sleeping so well. I'm just gonna let you go. I get it.
Roz says perhaps your responsibilities and titles are personality types, but are not who you are as a definition of you.
Yes.
Yes, Rob. Perhaps your responsibilities.
I love that.
Those are personality types, but not who you are as a
are not who you are as a definition of you. Exactly. Right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We've had many titles. You've had a title of track star, right? Chandra's had the title of Broadway star, right? Nikki's had the title of boss, CEO. I've had the title of coach or therapist. We do, but that's not who we are, literally, right? That's also mind blowing.
That is, because as you say that, what Ross said, that is not who you are.
No, think about it. Think about yourself. Think about yourself in any role, right? Let's just say, think about yourself as a track star or Shawnee as a Broadway star. Those are easy for people to grasp because we can see their public roles. We can see what you do as a track star. We can see what you do as a Broadway star. And if you think about who you are and what you have to be and what you do in those roles, there's probably, if you can find two things that match up with who you actually are and what you need, they probably are like worlds apart. Worlds apart. And can I say this one thing? The conscious, aware, and interested. Mm-hmm. The most important word in those three is interested. Because if you're not conscious and you're not aware, but you're interested, you will become conscious and aware. But if you're conscious and aware, but uninterested, there's no reason for you to look to that connection to be cared for.
That's right. That's what I was telling Autumn even in friendships. I'm like, the reason that you acquire friendships is because you're interested in that person. Relationships, anything, even business relationships. The only reason that you acquire anything extra is because of your interest in it. And then when you're interested in it, it opens you to be the rest.
Conscious and aware.
And I think that, like you talk about relationships, when you get out there in a dating game and someone catches your attention, the first thing is they catch your interest. Yes. You're interested in them. And then from there, once you start hearing what the rest of the interest stuff is going on,
right? Then you become aware.
We become aware.
And you consciously make a decision if you start going.
Yeah, when you're interested, you care, right?
Yeah.
When you become uninterested, right? So you're like, oh, I don't care as much.
Wow.
So you know what? It's so funny because people get really offended by hearing you say to them, "Oh, you don't care." And I'm like, that's a real statement, my love. I'm so sorry, but you don't care. And even if you look at it differently, like the word care is the action here. Like if you're not showing someone that you actually care for them by your conscious awareness and interest in things that they do, interest in things that how they want things done for them, interested, that is showing that you don't
cannot care.
I'm so sorry to be the one to break
It's
it
a
to you.
simple thing to help people or to make people or allow people to know that you care about them.
Mm-hmm. And
Listen,
it's funny. I used to think that, ever since y'all know I'm producing Chris's podcast, What Men Want. And it's been very let me pop it up here real quick. What Men Want, the podcast.
Okay.
It actually drops this Thursday coming, and he's already have a couple interviews in the can already. And listening to these men talk,
I can't wait.
They have something to say. They're talking about the same stuff we talk about.
Of course.
The whole thing, Nikki talking about conscious, aware, and interested. They were saying stuff like that the other day. Not exactly like Nikki said it, but it had, and it's making me think this whole topic now, my Gemini brain like this right now. The whole topic is really making me realize that what I've gone through in 2022 and my breakup and producing this show and being with you all and being open and listening and making sure that I'm interested, conscious, and aware. I believe at this very moment, God is preparing me to have all of these new tools or enhancing these tools so I can be the great virtuous woman and amazing wife that I'm going to be. One day. I really do believe, like, I here in this moment, whereas realizing that what we're talking about on this show, that conscious, aware, and interested, and diligent, and being vulnerable, and letting my partner know I don't have it all the time. That alone is coming down into my system and making me think about my past relationship and where I want to go and who I want to be for me, so I can be that for that amazing man that's going to get me.
Yes. Can I read something? I pulled up the definition of the word care because Chandra said that care was the action word, right? It says the provision. That's the first word in the damn sentence. The provision of what is necessary for health, welfare, maintenance, and the protection of someone or something. So again, care is about providing the provision of what is necessary. Like, we don't even need all the rest. The provision of what is necessary. So if someone is to care for you and you are in a caring connection with someone, what this says to me is you have to be vulnerable enough to share what is necessary so that the other person can provide it.
Ooh, you got to be vulnerable enough. Say that again. Hold on. Let me write that down. Hold on.
Right.
Say it again.
You have to be vulnerable enough to share what is necessary for you, right? What you need to share what is necessary so that the other person can provide it. See, that is the reciprocality of care. Because because we said both of these things. We talked about not being cared for because we're not getting what we need, but we also talked about not sharing what we need. And we also talked about not knowing what we need because we're too busy giving to everybody else, even the things they don't need, like telling me to take off a leather jacket. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sort of this human behavior cycle that has us too far away from the position of being cared for and caring. It's almost like, to me, there is no guilty party here, quote unquote. It's like this pattern we have collectively, it is the thing that keeps us away from the level of care we need. Right? Yes, vulnerable enough to share what's necessary so the other person can provide it. The provision of what is necessary. And we cannot assume that the person we are in business with or in bed with or at the breakfast table with, wherever it is,
Say it again.
that they know what we need because they've known us since we were young, or they've known because we've worked together day in and day out for the last year, or because they've heard me, they've seen me, you cannot assume that you know.
I mean, my wife and I have been together for over 20 years, and I learn new stuff about her every day, literally.
Isn't it something?
And it is definitely a notion. Like, you cannot assume that this person, especially if you've been in relationship, friendship, or romantic, if you've been in a relationship with someone for a long period of time, you cannot assume that they just know. Because normally what happens, and I can attest to this in all facets, parents, friendships, whatever, they keep you at the state that
they met you in.
Yeah. Like, they don't let you mature. They don't let you grow out of that. This is the way you've always been cared for. This is the way we always did it. This is the way
this is what you always liked.
Always liked. I'm like, I liked that 15 years ago.
Yeah, living life. Forget the words I was going to use, but basically just invites new needs. You know, like there's so many
invites. You look at y'all dropping the gems today.
We're on the pastoral robes, honey.
Living life invites what? New needs.
Yeah, and to Chandra's point, like we need to be paying attention, right? Because what worked 10 years ago is, it, might, have a little tickle, make you feel, fine for a moment, but it's not going to be long lasting.
Yes.
It's almost like how we tell kids, enjoy your time in college, because after that it gets really real, right? Like life responsibilities or just things that you want to do and accomplish at different stages of your life presents a new heaviness that we're all operating in.
Yes.
And it's the simplest thing that somebody can offer to give or share with you is just caring for you, right? But also, what makes it even better is when they notice what you need without you necessarily having to tell them. But that's a hard place to get to, right? I think we do have the responsibility of allowing people to know what we think we need, at least. But even just being aware of doing the little things, because care is such a simple thing that you can give somebody.
It's funny, Nick, you say that. My COO, Rebecca, I'm about to cry again. Mm-hmm. She sees me more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of things I'm working on, like us all. But she sees me going into that burning the midnight oil that I'm learning to stop doing. And I do allow myself to be vulnerable around her, but she did something and it meant so much to me. And I fought her on it at first. I told you I didn't come back to work till like third week of January. And what I did not know, she had already contacted my clients and told them this is what's happening. And after she had told everybody, she tells me. And at first I was like, well, what do you mean? I don't do that. And she looked at me, she goes, you need the time. You need, and that, at first I was like, what are you talking about? And then when I ended up realizing how much I needed the time, I was so grateful that she was interested.
Yes.
That she was aware and she was conscious.
Yep.
And as a result of that, I find myself being reciprocating. It makes me that much more want to make sure I take care of her. Does that make sense?
Exactly. 100%. Because listen, if you don't take care of her, your care goes away.
It sure does. So let me make sure she all right.
Right?
She said it's like wrestling the alligator sometimes.
Amen, Rebecca.
It is like
I love it. I love it.
This is.
I think the what's I don't know who this is, but yeah, anticipating the needs is an intentional act. So that is so priceless. Yes, this is true. But that's the notion that we wish we can be in relationship with anyone, friendship or whatever. But that's not the personality of most people.
Right.
Most people aren't going to, anticipate your cares and your needs and stuff like that. Most people are waiting to be told how to love and care for you.
But
it's true.
They will anticipate it the more you show your needs. Right? Because that's how they're responding to us regardless. If they're responding to us not giving us anything because we're not showing that we need anything. But if we showed more that we needed more, they would anticipate their connection, time with us, whatever, as them having to bring something along, right? Not literally, not materially, because they know us for what we need. And that's the goal, is to help people know us for what we need, not just for what we do.
You know what's interesting?
Go ahead, Nick.
No, capture what she said.
No, go ahead. I'll be right.
I was just going to say, all of that made me think about, there are people who are just very caring people in general. I consider myself a very caring person, but I'm caring in my relationships and how I'll give to you, as we're together, or even not together. When you need me, I'll stop, all that kind of stuff. But there are certain people who just do really just caring acts of kindness all the time. And I know I look at some of those individuals, I'm like, I aspire to be you. Like, those are that's like the icing on the cake when somebody just all out of nowhere, you receive something, even a call from someone just because you're thinking about. I started to do that a little bit more. I'm not the best at it. And a large part, it has to go back to, we all have our own needs that are probably not being cared for as well. So we're just living that heavy life, right? And just trying to live in a world that these are the things we have to do. But I just want to, share, there are people out there that just do on a regular acts of kindness. And I use those individuals to help inspire me to be better in other ways, whether it's consciously always remembering birthdays. Okay, how can I put something in front of me so that no matter what, I don't, forget a birthday, people who call you out of the blue, that just want to say, I was thinking about you. We haven't spoken in a while, but I just wanted you to know that you were on my mind, versus a lot of times somebody pops in your mind and you want to call them. You're like, okay, I'll do it later. And then they pop in your mind again. So my point in this is, we can all, no matter how caring you are, we can all do more, be more caring to each other and others and even ourselves. I think as we're ending the show, the consciousness even within ourselves to challenge ourselves to be more caring individuals is something I'd like to leave everybody with. There's little things that we can do to not only help people to understand how we want to be cared for, even if it's showing by example, but also just giving to others as well in a way, they might appreciate.
I love that. Nikki,
special. Speaking of that, I sent everybody Lizzo's song Special.
Thank you.
I play that every day, and I even sent it out to other people to make, it was like a message to them.
I was just going to ask you, Nikki, there were some Facebook user comments a few people back. Can you put them? I wanted to see some of the things that I tried to catch them, but I missed them. So many great comments. You're on mute, Nikki.
I'm talking. The ones that said Facebook user?
Yeah, and the one before that, it was like someone and then a Facebook user follow-up.
Do you remember what it said?
I don't. I was like, what? It was.
I'm about to go over there right now.
Okay, yeah. I started reading it, and then I was, it's reading and being in the conversation.
Carrie is
yes, maybe. Before it said this is Carrie.
Oh, before it said this is Carrie. I do want to say to everyone.
Yeah.
As we get ready to wrap up, this is.
And I know you'll roll them after anyway during the credits.
Here it is. And is this it?
Yep. For others. Oh, but I figured out that it feels even better for even to take care of me. Absolutely.
I'm there too, Carrie. I'm right there with you, learning how to take care of me. This was once again, y'all, another great show.
Amen.
Autumn, we giving you producer credit.
Amen. What did Sharif say? I saw Sharif posted. Chandra's cousin.
Say, hey, Sharif, I'm gonna be in touch with you.
Understanding and attention is a major. Because if vulnerability isn't identified clearly, it can be missed in the noise of the day-to-day work-life balance. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, this has been another great show. I want everybody on here, if you are on Instagram, go follow us on Instagram at the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. My Wonder Woman Need Love 2 people, go follow us on our Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew page. This is the last week that we're going to be showing the show on the Wonder Woman page. Last week, we're going to be showing it on Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew and on our YouTube page. And in a few weeks, it's going to be March. And y'all, next weekend, we are announcing some things that we are doing in March. March is going to be a huge week for the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew and our viewers. We love y'all. We cannot wait to tell y'all what's going on. So go follow us on Instagram at the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. Go to our Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. Like us, follow us on our Facebook page. And also at our website. Go to our website. Go subscribe to our YouTube page. And you will know why we're saying all this come next weekend. But get ahead of the game. And
also, if you're ever thinking in these conversations about people in your life who fit some of these characteristics that we're trying to work our way to a better place, tell them to sign up.
Tell them. Thank you, Shelly. Tell them to tune in. Tell them to tune in. I do want to give one little prop. I'm reaching out to our adventure warriors because I want to make sure that everyone is following them. I'm reaching out to them this week so we can keep track of what our guests are doing.
In Tulum, honey, I saw them.
I know. I sent her a message. It was like, okay, we got to get the update on what you're doing. Yes. I want to shout out one more time. Chris's show drops this Thursday. Rebecca is the co-executive producer of the show. She's been working really hard with him. He's got some great guests coming on. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about March. Michelle, Chandra, Crystal, and Nikki. We can't tell y'all yet what it is.
It's gonna be good.
But you guys will know soon. Nick, you got anything you want to say, Shawnee, Shelly, before I close us out?
No, honey. Go be vulnerable. What was it?
Go
be diligently vulnerable.
Diligently vulnerable and conscious, aware
and interested.
Have a great Saturday, everybody. She ain't coming.
Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. Time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. And we're up first. And we're up first. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. And we're up first.
Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great.
And we're up first. Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. Time for the ladies.
ladies versus Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki on Boss and Nikki.
And we're up first.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.